This is the Realme XT and this is what makes it so special. So let's not waste any more time and jump straight to unboxing the world's first 64 megapixel quad camera smartphone and see what Realme has to offer here. Hey guys, Ash here from C4E Tech, and if you do end up liking what you see in this video, please do turn on notifications by hitting that bell icon. This is the box the Realme XT comes in. There's a picture of the front and back of the phone and also Realme XT branding along with two of the most important specs here. There's more branding to the sides, and to the back we have a sticker that tells us this is the pearl white variant 8128. Let's now take our unboxing knife and slice through the plastic. Lifting the lid off, as usual, there is another box here. This one has some regular paperwork like the information guide, and then there is a soft silicone case. Let's keep these aside and take a look at the Realme XT itself. Let me remove the protective plastic and then the sticker. This pearly white variant, it looks absolutely gorgeous. Let's get back to it in a bit though. As of now, let's see what else is there in the box. Next, we have a 20-watt VOOC 3.0 wall adapter, a yellow Type-C cable, and finally, a SIM ejector tool. So now that we are done with the box contents, it's time to take a closer look at the Realme XT. Looks wise, this phone reminds me a bit of the Realme X. XT, you get it, right? Now there are some changes from the X. The pearl white finish on the XT catches light a lot more than the polar white Realme X. In fact, if you look at it from certain angles, the Realme XT has a bluish or purplish hue. If you compare the overall dimensions, the XT is smaller, thinner, and it even weighs in a little lesser at 183 grams. Another big change here is with the rear cameras. Obviously, given this is the first 64 megapixel phone and all, but it's not that simple. Realme didn't just swap the primary cameras, they changed the entire setup. Well, the Realme X had a dual camera setup to the back. The XT features a quad camera setup and they've kind of changed the placement. It's more to the left, kind of like what we've seen with the Realme 5 and the 5 Pro. Now, we'll get to these cameras in a bit. The smaller overall footprint combined with a screen that also happens to be a little smaller than the Realme X means that the XT is easier to use single-handed. In fact, thanks to the curved back that fits nicely in the palm of your hands and a nice overall heft, the Realme XT feels quite premium when you hold it. That being said, the reflective back is still plastic and it still feels very slippery in hand, and it somehow is even more of a fingerprint and dust magnet now. Enough about the build though, let's now take a look at the display. Like I mentioned, the display here is a little smaller. This is a 6.4-inch panel, but the rest remains similar. The tech is still AMOLED, the resolution is still Full HD+, and it still happens to be covered by Corning's Gorilla Glass 5 for protection. As with the panel we've seen on the Realme X, the colors seem to be punchy. This one's quite bright too, and as it's AMOLED, the blacks are deep and the contrast is excellent. Now, there is one major change from the Realme X's panel. This is not a full screen panel as the XT does not have a pop-up camera. Instead, we have a tiny dewdrop notch up top. This holds the selfie shooter. Now, what do you guys think about this change? Have you become so used to full screen displays that this looks like a step back now, or are dewdrop notches still acceptable? Here's a poll, let me know. Anyway, coming back to the Realme XT, let's take a look around the device. We have a speaker, USB Type-C port, primary microphone and a 3.5mm headphone jack to the bottom. The volume rockers can be found to the left, and above them we have a dual SIM plus micro SD card slot. Now that's something the XT has over the X. The top is clean except for a secondary noise cancelling microphone, and the power button resides to the right. From the externals, let's now jump onto the internals. We have the Snapdragon 712 AIE running the show here. Based on track record, this is a pretty good chip. We've seen it on the likes of the Vivo Z1 Pro and recently the Realme 5 Pro. And it's been great at handling pretty much any day-to-day task. Even here, the Realme XT, it felt quite snappy. When it came to launching apps, the user interface, it felt responsive. We have the same old ColorOS 6 here built on top of Android 9 Pie. We've seen a lot of ColorOS 6 over the last few months, so I'm not gonna really spend a lot of time on it. It looks and feels the same, and like I said, it runs snappy. The in-display fingerprint scanner works quite well, and the face unlock is as fast as ever. On the gaming side of things, we have the Adreno 616 GPU. It seems to handle PUBG pretty well, so initial impressions, everything looks good on the performance front. On the memory front, we've got 4, 6 or 8 gigs of RAM paired with 64 or 128 gigs of UFS 2.1 storage. The dedicated microSD card slot provides room for additional expandability. On the battery side of things, we have a 4000 mAh unit that, when paired with ColorOS 6 and a 10nm processor, leaves me hopeful of good battery life. And also, we have the VOOC 3.0 charger included in the box for quick charging. Now, with all that out of the way, it's finally time to discuss optics. That is, after all, the unique selling point here. Now, we'll get to each one of the cameras to the back, but first, let's take a closer look at that 64 megapixel primary. The sensor here is Samsung's Isocell Bright GW1, and on the Realme XT, it's paired with a fast f1.8 aperture lens. Under bright sunlight, the GW1 takes some excellent photos. The default resolution here is 16 megapixels, and the pictures come out looking sharp. The colors seem good, and the dynamic range is decent as well. As far as first impressions go, I'm liking what I'm seeing here. But the big question is, how is this GW1 gonna fare when we pit it against Sony's monstrous 48 megapixel flagship IMX586 sensor? Now, to keep the other factors like software processing as similar as possible, I decided to go with the phone I've been talking about all video, the Realme X. If you see these images, there really isn't much difference in terms of detail between the images shot with these two cameras. Remember, the IMX586 on the Realme X shoots 12 megapixels by default, and the GW1 on the XT shoots 16 megapixels by default. Sure, you can zoom in and see some fine amount of extra details with the image shot by the XT, like say with the grill of the air conditioner here, but at a glance the photos look pretty similar. In some shots, the sky appears a little bit bluer on the image shot with the Realme X, but essentially in auto mode, both these phones, they produce similar results. Even when we move on to the 48 megapixel mode on the X and the 64 megapixel mode on the XT, still the differences here are pretty hard to spot. As with all Realme phones, we also have Chroma Boost in here, and we have a dedicated night mode option. The pictures here are quite a bit better than the ones taken on auto mode. We end up with brighter images that have far more detail and better colors. Interestingly, the night mode also works with the ultrawide camera. Speaking of ultrawide, that's the 8 megapixel sensor with an f2.25 lens. The detail levels, while not as good as with the primary sensor, it's still pretty decent. The colors look punchy, and overall, I like the final results. The 2 megapixel macro camera from the Realme 5 Pro also makes a return. You can use it to capture images like these, and it makes for some fresh and fun perspectives. What do you guys think of the macro option? Would you prefer a macro over a telephoto? Now here's another poll, let me know. The final camera, it's a 2 megapixel depth sensor, and as you know, that's used to shoot portrait. These did turn out quite well. The edge detection here was on point, the dynamic range was good, and the skin tone's natural. My only area was concerned was with the skin. It felt a little bit smoothened out. When it comes to selfies though, no such complaints. The IMX471 did a fantastic job. We have good colors, and zooming in you can see the details on the face. When it comes to selfie portraits, the edge detection, it's mostly okay, but the backgrounds sometimes they appear blown out, overexposed. Finally, we come to video. We can shoot it up to 4K 30 FPS with the Realme XT. No stabilization at this resolution. For that, you'd have to drop down to 1080p 60. By the way, even selfie videos do get EIS. So wrapping it all up, the XT seems like an interesting phone. The Snapdragon 712, the 64 megapixel primary, the quad cameras, VOOC 3.0, micro SD, all that seems great, but is this gonna be a phone that you can buy, or rather, you should buy? Is this gonna be a good choice? Now that's gonna largely depend on what Realme prices it at. As of shooting this video, I have no clue as to what Realme is gonna price it at. Once I have official confirmation on the pricing, I will let you guys know via Twitter. So follow me on Twitter at C4eTech if you haven't already. But before that, you let me know what you think would be a fair price for this, or rather what you think is a price that Realme should be asking for this given all that they are offering with the XT. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And with that, we get to the end of this unboxing video. Thumbs up, thumbs down based on whatever you felt about the video. Subscribe, turn on notifications by hitting that bell icon if you haven't yet. That's it for this video. Thanks a lot for watching. Till next time, my name's Ash. You've been watching C4eTech, and I'm signing off for now. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye.